Welcome to another episode of Southern Arizona's Nonprofits, the superheroes impacting our community. We're broadcasting live today on the Tucson Business Channel, a division of Mark Bishop Media, from the Stewart Title corporate offices on Broadway in Tucson, Arizona. This show is brought to you by SCIP, S-S-C-I-P, the Social Services Contractor Indemnity Pool, insuring nonprofits like ours for more than 3.5 decades. I'm Barbara McClure, Executive Director of Impact to Southern Arizona and host of this show. And with me today are two superheroes unleashing creativity in our community, providing performance and art opportunities to youth through music and other expressive mediums. They are showcasing Tucson Talent all the time, and I bet many of our listeners have never even heard of them. Both were highlighted at a joint meeting earlier this year of 100 plus Women Who Care Tucson and our local 100 Guys Who Give, and both went home with significant gifts of $8,900 each to help support their nonprofits. Congrats to both of you for being selected. And please join me in welcoming Dena DiGiacinto, Managing Director and Director of Education for Saguaro City Music Theater.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. And Logan Greene, Treasurer and Executive Director of Groundworks Tucson.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Gosh, it's so much fun. I'm going to start with you, Logan, because I wanted to find out the story behind the name Groundworks, because I couldn't figure out how it related to what you do. So maybe you can tell us what your nonprofit is and where that name comes from.
Yeah, the name Groundworks definitely is kind of one that we were choosing from a big list we'd put together. It was for the first important part is one we could all agree on and we were all happy with. But the other idea of it is that we are working from the ground up to try to build the type of music and art scene we want to see for youth, that we feel would benefit youth and that youth want to see in Tucson. So it's kind of this, ground up mentality, the Groundworks.
Gotcha. And so what kinds of things for our listeners who've not heard of you, maybe you can just tell us what kinds of things you do briefly, and then we'll get into some of the details.
Yeah, Groundworks is a nonprofit dedicated to promoting the youth-driven music and arts community here in Tucson. For us, that means providing an all-ages music venue, a art gallery, a classroom space, and now recently a recording studio so that youth, typically 14 to 24, though we do consider ourselves all ages, those youth can have access to the arts and use lots of equipment, use the facility, express themselves, create their own events. We consider it very youth-driven in that youth are the ones putting these things on and running these things.
Sure, and then we're, of course, on the website, people can get the location and the websites of everybody and have all the information to reach out to you. But where in Tucson do you do this?
We have a physical location at Grant Country Club. It's 2919 East Grant Road. But it's a really good facility for us, having a small music venue, a classroom, and a gallery space. And the physical location is a really awesome thing to see because every wall is covered in some mural. There's lots of cool art to see, and it's just kind of an ever-changing, evolving space.
Sounds very exciting. Where did the kids come from? I mean, how do you find them in the community?
A lot of the youth who come through our doors they learn about it through just word of mouth. So we work with lots of musicians. We specifically go out of our way to make sure as many zip codes around town are represented in the space. And through that, they're the ones telling their friends in high school or college to come out to see them perform. And then from there, often they get involved in some of the other stuff we do in the space. We're all volunteer run, so we don't have a lot of outreach that we're able to do. So it really just comes from the word of mouth, people spreading the word, people liking what we do enough to tell somebody else to come out, especially in that age range.
That's pretty cool. I think that's the point of this show, too, is to help the public find out about so many of the nonprofits that are in Tucson that are kind of hidden and don't have a lot of outreach. So do you connect with the schools at all?
We've worked with different schools, especially high schools, over a few different programs that we've run, whether that's setting up an event like a concert around some of the performers at a school. We did Tucson High's end of the year art show last year or the year before. And so we will work with schools one-on-one or with teachers often, but we don't have any sort of direct partnership with a school or district or anything like that.
Gotcha. I thought it was kind of cool that you have free music, like on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, during the week. I didn't know that. So for the public, is it at your location, or where do you have these events, or what are they like? What are the kids playing?
Yeah, every single one is very different. I always tell people if they want to come out to just check out our website and try to just go through some of what's coming up, because while not every event is for everyone, there's definitely something for everybody on our docket. You'll see we've got rock shows, hip hop shows, garage bands, punk shows. It really just depends in terms of the events we do. Now we do collect donations at the door for these events, though all of our events are no one turned away, so that anybody can come and access the space and experience the arts, whether or not they have funds to do so.
That's a neat way to do that. I think tickets that way, and rather than having some people unable to attend.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We really try to do that no one turned away policy, but we have bills to pay and we like to pay the artists. So all the artists get paid for performing too. So that comes out of what we collect at the door.
Oh, that's very exciting. I didn't realize they got to go home with some cash, which is good because all these entertainers should be reimbursed for their
we're trying
talent.
To create, the model that, artists and musicians, they are, doing that type of artistic work, and to build those job skills and understanding, like when you do that work, there should be some expectation of getting paid to do that work, especially when somebody else might be, making money off of that kind of work and that sort of thing. So we do something like a 50-50 split, or we have a different kind of price worked out for the artists so that they are walking away with money that will help them out, and then we also again can keep the lights on.
That is very cool. Do these artists come with musical instruments, or what kinds of performances are they, or what's a popular instrument that people are coming with?
Yeah. Well, I mean, often for us, like we have an event called the First Show, and it's all performers that we've kind of reached out to, or they've reached out to us, that we fill out an application and they get put on a show where all of the performers are performing for the first time. And so at a show like that, we may have 6 or 7 artists performing, and they range from bands that have been practicing in their parents' garage for the last, however many months, and they have some songs they can play. So that'll look like a pretty traditional rock band sort of setup. But they also could be somebody with their backing track. They've done it all on a computer, and they sing along or they rap along to a backing track. So the instrument is really just all digital at that point, and we just are playing that backing track for them while they're singing along to it. But we've also had poets, and we've had, jazz ensembles. There's a really cool one called Goonsville that's been playing around recently that is accordion, upright bass, and violin, and they're just super fun instrumental stuff. And we've been able to host them for a few of the performances. But like I said, every night is totally different than the last. We generally don't have a set genre that we're representing, other than when we have youth wanting to come set something up. Well, they may want to set something up that we've already had the night before, and that's okay because they're the ones in the driver's seat setting up that kind of performance.
Sounds like fun. Yeah. Makes me want to come down and check it out.
Yeah, please do.
I did notice, when you go to the web page, there are all of these, what I might call event posters that look like the students put together themselves, maybe. So it's their own advertising. Is that true?
Yeah, generally so. Unless we have to put it together because they, we're having to kind of help them along in some of the process, the logistical stuff. But generally, yeah, they would put a bill together, and them or their friends might find an artist to put the flyer together for their event.
Sure. Mm-hmm. As I've looked through it in the past, I've thought, which one of those shows would I go to, or how, how to determine by the playbill what it is. So it's kind of an interesting, just interesting from the public side of it.
Right, totally.
But very cool. And then Dena, I know you also are dealing with performers. So maybe you can tell our listeners what your nonprofit is doing.
Absolutely. So we're Saguaro City Music Theater, and we primarily do three things. We offer tuition-free and inclusive theater programs like classes and performance opportunities for kids and teens of all abilities. We present top-tier professional musical productions throughout the year, and we also have a program called Nest that's a new entertainment studio where we help to develop new works that have been written by local writers or composers to try to develop them and get them off the ground and help kind of nudge it along to the next level. So we're kind of focusing on those three areas. Our educational programs are kind of the cornerstone of our organization. So we try to infuse learning opportunities and opportunities for young performers as much as we possibly can throughout the year. We do run like 4 programs, generally speaking, that span opportunities to learn about all aspects of theater, from skills building, where they're just focusing on learning singing, dancing, and acting. We have a summer camp that's like a full 3-week program where they basically rehearse a show. They learn a show just like you would in a professional theater environment. And then they have a chance to perform to a public audience at the Berger Performing Arts Center for performances with a full, expert designed lighting plot and scenic design and all of that stuff, and wearing lavaliers, and, they get the full experience. So they love that. Anytime they get a chance to perform on a stage, that's, I think, the most exciting thing for them. But also other classes where we help them learn about auditioning for musicals, so that they can, our goal is to try to help empower them and give them the tools that they need to go and then audition for their own school plays or community theater or other professional shows in the community. Some of them are so talented, and it's so exciting to kind of see them get bit by the bug, where they just fall in love with theater and they want to learn everything about it. So we want to encourage them and empower them to do as much of it as they can. And of course, while it's so much fun to do theater if you love it, there are so many other byproducts of being in a theatrical environment and learning different aspects of musical theater that help kids with so many different other things, like, social skills and confidence and things like that. And so it's very moving to see all of those things happening, and it truly is just like a byproduct. But we get such great feedback from parents about that kind of thing, and it just means a lot to hear it, because it's nice to know you're making a difference.
Sure.
When you're putting a lot of just passion into something and seeing how much fun they're having, that it's also helping them with their school life and things like that. So, so then actually right now we're in production for Wizard of Oz.
Oh my gosh.
While it's not necessarily part of our educational programming, we do have 29 young kids and teens of all abilities in the production. So we're just finishing up our last 2 days of rehearsal in the studio right now, and we're moving to the theater for the technical rehearsals coming up this weekend. So they're all very excited about it. Getting to try on costumes for the first time and get ready to perform for a big audience next weekend.
Oh my gosh, it's here already.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. How many productions do you put on in a year? I know one production in and of itself would seem like it's so much. Like you're saying, sets, lighting, costumes, kids memorizing their lines.
Yeah, it is. Each production is a big ordeal, lots of planning, lots of team members involved in making sure that every aspect of it is ready and as good as it possibly can be. Currently, we're doing 3 productions a year, 2 main stage productions, as well as our summer camp kind of final production that takes place in June. And we're excited because next year in our 2025-2026 season, we will be adding a 4th production that will take place in the spring.
Oh my gosh.
Slowly, we've been having people ask us, what happens after the holidays? The show closes in January and we don't see you again until June. So, it's nerve-wracking because, like you mentioned, it's a big, to do a whole production it's a lot. And, but we're excited because we think that we'll be able to make that addition in the next season, and then we'll be able to hopefully bring in a new audience of snowbirds that we keep missing.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's true. Half the population there. The other half of the season. That is very cool. I was a drama student in junior high school. I discovered drama. I loved it. And then went to a high school that did musical productions. So that was it was always kind of intimidating because nobody really felt like they were a great singer. But, you had kids up there that didn't necessarily, didn't have great voices, but everybody had a part.
I remember when I was in high
cool.
school, we had football players in the shows and things, like not necessarily people who were planning on doing anything with it in the future, but it's so much fun. And I feel like it's such a gift when a school has a theater program, because not a lot of them do these days. And so just to have that opportunity during school hours without, the extra financial burden of paying for extracurricular classes and trying it without having to make a full commitment, it's just so nice to have that opportunity.
Yeah, I was always in the band during the musicals. I wasn't on stage, but I was off stage.
Can't do a show without a band.
Right?
Not even down in the front like the orchestra, right?
Yeah.
Not in a school situation. Mm-hmm. That's so fun. I think it's so cool that both of you bring all these arts opportunities to the community. Because like I said, Dena, schools, art, it's one of those first things that gets cut, art and music. And so it's always so frustrating.
I used to teach guitar at Saguaro High School, and I see firsthand, even since I was teaching there 5 or 6 years ago to now, just the different music programs that are getting smaller and smaller at those schools. And some of it is, cuts, some of it's recruitment, some of it's just kind of teaching the magic of the arts, which is a harder thing for people to get right off the bat. That I do think, organizations like ours probably help provide outside of school, and then hopefully kind of build that for youth all around.
And sometimes when you take music in school or drama, it's an elective, and it's still a graded class. Mm-hmm. So it's still schoolwork.
Yeah, I've definitely had those guitar students who do not want to be there. And It's like pulling teeth, and all they got to do is play guitar.
Right, just even the basics, right?
Yeah.
So how long has Groundworks been around?
So we became a nonprofit in 2019, did a Kickstarter and tried to just raise some funds, grassroots style, to get a space. But we did get a building in January 2020, and so our grand opening of April 2020 just did not happen. And it wasn't until the end of 2021, essentially the beginning of 2022, that we have been fully operational and having events weekly. So it was this trial by fire period of figuring out how do we survive, which all nonprofits definitely are going through. We're going through around that time. We just had never done anything previous. So it was a new thing to be like, hey, we would like to continue this organization. We just don't have financial records of the last 5 years, to try to get additional funding and things like that to survive. But we were able to make it through, and since then have been going pretty strong. It's been growing year to year after that.
Wonderful. I think it's just finding out about you. And then you're the director. I mean, it's all volunteer, correct?
Correct.
No paid staff.
Yeah, no paid staff at this time. Myself and several others were the founders as well, but with the pandemic, everybody's lives changed. So only a couple of us are still with the organization this, 5 years later. And for us, we have, whole new groups of volunteers who have now been with it. And what's really cool is we're seeing young volunteers who maybe performed there or were practicing at our space, who then started volunteering for our events and shows, and then now are starting to get, as they're getting older, getting into more administrative roles and things that are help out the organization and not just one of our programs.
Well, that's exciting to see it grow.
Yeah, that's been one of my favorite parts, is just seeing the youth take on some of those responsibilities.
I bet in that passion that they bring.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, that would be fun. And Dena, you were talking about your upcoming show. Can you tell me when? So you're headed off to technical practices. So when is this show? When can people go? Because it's so close to right now.
It is. Actually, next Friday, December 20th, is our first performance at the Berger Performing Arts Center. The show's running from December 20th through January 5th over 3 weekends. So we have performances Friday night, Saturdays we have a matinee and an evening show, and then Sunday matinees as well. So there's 12 shows, 12 chances to see it. It's really a wonderful show around the holidays. It's funny because actually the movie was on the other night. I think they play it a lot around the holidays, but we've been, hearing all of the songs from Wizard of Oz nonstop for months now, just planning the show, and I'm choreographing the show as well. So just, really listening so intently to all these songs for quite a while. And then I heard it in the other room on the TV, and it's so funny. I just sat down and watched it after, I've seen it a million times, but it's just such a classic. And, all of those kind of just nostalgic moments in the movie, a lot of them are in the stage version as well. So as we're kind of watching the rehearsals, last night we finished a run of the entire thing. Like the first time we did a whole run of it without stopping. And you get to that part at the end where she's like, I missed you all so much and I love you. And we were all just crying in the front of the room, just weeping like babies. It's really very moving. And we have a wonderful 15-year-old actress playing Dorothy. So just to see her kind of journey and, where she started a few weeks ago in rehearsals to where she's kind of ended up it's pretty remarkable. Very
that
exciting.
sounds like fun. How much is a ticket to come to the show?
Tickets start at $25 and they run to $55. Actually, right now we have a special for like a holiday gift giving kind of promotion that you can get 20% off for evening performances next weekend. So if you're looking for a discount, we have one on our website at saguarocity.org. We also have volunteer opportunities for people who would like to see the show if maybe the ticket price is a little bit, not realistic, to come and volunteer in the front of house as an usher or to help with concessions. And we have that information on our social media as well. You can come and just help people get seated and then watch the show for free.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That's a very fun idea. Mm-hmm. And then how long is the show?
The show runs...
Not as long as The Wizard of Oz, right?
It's just about a little over 2 hours. So
it is long.
We do have an intermission. So, I know it's funny that a lot of times the first act is longer than the second. And that's the case with this show as well. It's a little bit over an hour, and people have a chance to go get a snack, go to the bathroom, whatever they need to in the middle. But all in all, it's a little over 2 hours.
So it's the full story.
It is.
It's not just excerpts from.
No, it's the full story. And actually it's fun too, because there was a scene that was filmed for the movie, that it's like the song is called The Jitterbug. And there are clips on YouTube like that you can see they filmed it in the movie and then it just didn't make the final cut, but that is in the live version. So there's an additional song and like dance number in the stage version that wasn't in the movie. And I love it. It's so fun.
Oh, it sounds like fun just by the title, right?
I have 2 students who I think have at least done stuff with your organization before, Lucy and Penny.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And is Lucy in this show as well?
She is.
Yeah.
It's one of the Lullaby League.
Yeah. I'm teaching her ukulele and Penny guitar. And
so funny. She comes from her ukulele lessons to rehearsal sometimes.
Yeah, we always have to
world.
figure out our lessons around that. But yeah, this is good information for me so that I can go see this show with Lucy in it.
Come, Logan. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they're wonderful. So they're one of the families that has been with us pretty much since the beginning. So it's really just so nice to see them grow and, thriving in the arts.
And how long has your nonprofit been running?
We became officially a nonprofit in October of 2021. And we started our first program in July of 2022. So we're kind of just going into our 3rd year now.
Sure. So you're both pretty new in terms of nonprofit life.
Essentially the same amount of operation.
Yeah. And it's funny because
like it.
So I know like when I'm listening to you talk about things and understanding what it takes to run a nonprofit and, wanting to give the opportunities, how nice it is when you do have whoever wants to volunteer, but like especially kids and families that are involved that have, gotten the opportunity to do the arts because of your organization, to then see them sort of give back. And it just lightens the load a little bit sometimes when you have some extra help and extra hands and, people who are just happy to be a part of the family and help it all run.
Yeah. And it's one of those things too, that even if we had to shut down tomorrow, which we shouldn't have to, but if we did, we would still see some of that impact like for years to come. Like we get to see it grow in time, but even if we stopped, there's still that like legacy of it, of youth getting that experience around the arts.
It's life-changing. It's amazing to see how that one opportunity, one chance to perform or learn about music or, anything like that can change the course of a child's life. I mean, any of us in the arts, I feel like we had that moment, like something happened in our youth that made us say, this is what I want to do with my life. And sometimes it's like the thing that makes you feel like you belong somewhere.
Yeah, it clicks for you. You just find that moment or that person or that organization or space or concert or show or whatever it is, and it just clicks. And you're like, oh, this is the thing.
It's so fun. My grandmother was a performer in the community theater, although I never saw her perform. But just knowing that, and then all those black and white pictures she had of the stage and all the costumes, as growing up, those were such interesting books to look at. Mm-hmm. And then getting hooked on drama, and then later just kind of being interested in music. Not that I ever thought I had a good voice, but I just thought that would be kind of a cool thing to do. So in college, I joined the college chorus, and it was pretty cool. It was down in Southern California, so we got to sing with the Carpenters and do some really fun things that,
Wow.
Some people are like, who are they? But, when you're from a certain generation, that was such a big deal. And so it's just been really, really fun. And I've always kind of kept that music in my life, but don't do anything with it. It's just kind of lots of it at home, when nobody's listening.
Yeah, it stays with you. Even if you don't keep doing music, it stays with you.
Sure. And just, I think what you get from performing is, like you were saying, there's so many benefits from it. Your confidence and your just ability to get up in the beginning. When you were saying, Dena, that a lot of the kids are new to it. And I'm sure for you as well, Logan, these people who are like, okay, I'm your first, what's it called? First?
Yeah, the first show.
The first show. That
I love that.
I know.
That's a great name.
And it's got to be nerve-wracking for some of those kids.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
up.
I sometimes talk about it as Groundworks is a place to fail, and not in like a negative way. It's really like a place where they can go up there and, perform horribly, let's say, and it's just okay. Like we're happy to have them back. It's not like there's like this high stakes thing going on, and that is an awesome way to get exposed to the arts and have that opportunity. And I think of there are times where just my performance experience and having those kinds of places for me really helped me out. And just I've made lots of mistakes. I've failed many times, and it's helpful for me to not just, fall into some negativity around that. I'm like, oh, you just move on. That's just what a performer does. And that's life too.
Sure. And it's welcoming. I mean, when you can come in and be yourself and feel like it's going to be okay because you think you're not going to do well. And if you don't, everyone still welcomes you, and it's not no judgment.
It's providing that safe environment for young people to try something, take a risk and fail, and knowing that there are no consequences, no negative consequences. I mean, if anything, there are positive consequences because you always learn from those. And it's just such a gift that you're giving to the kids.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. We love to have that kind of thing because ours isn't like a many show thing either. So we try to provide multiple opportunities in that way. And I'm sure, with yours, if you do a show, it's not great. They have the next night to do another show and they can make it better. And
Absolutely.
that same sort of thing.
Sure. And on the first show, everybody's in the same boat, aren't they?
Exactly.
Well, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, and we'll be back in a moment.
Today's program is brought to you by SKIP, the Social Service Contractors Indemnity Pool. SKIP is a member-owned, member-directed insurance provider with more than 3 decades of insuring Arizona social service organizations for their property, general and professional liability, and auto claim exposures. With an Arizona-based staff of claim underwriting and risk management professionals, SKIP specializes in providing personalized service, affordable premiums, and coverage which meets and often exceeds the state of Arizona's contract requirements for social service providers. For more information, visit our website at www.sscip.org or ask your insurance agent about protecting your organization with insurance coverage through SKIP.
Welcome back. We're with Dena DiGiacinto, and she is the Managing Director and Director of Education for Saguaro City Music Theater, and Logan Greene. He is the Treasurer and Executive Director of Groundworks Tucson and one of the founders. And we're talking about all these great opportunities for kids in this community of Tucson who can come and showcase their talent, or in many cases discover their talent, probably. And one of the things that you were talking about, Dena, earlier was your NEST program. So maybe you could expand on that and tell us more about that.
Absolutely. It's new entertainment studio, and sort of like the idea of incubating like new works that are written or partially written that kind of have either a score or a script, but like need help with getting to that next step of putting the show on stage and making a musical and making sure the story is clear. And so we were fortunate enough to meet local composer Cameron Hood, he's a part of the musical band Ryan Hood, who has been around for quite a while in Tucson, and they perform across the country. But he's so talented, not only as a performer, but as a writer. And he reached out to us, it's over 2 years ago now, and let us know that he wrote a musical. He said, I wrote a space rock opera, and I don't know what to do next. I wrote it, but I need a producer and a director and things to help me move it on to the next level. So we met with him and listened to the score because he had made a demo of it. And it is incredible. I mean, it is absolutely incredible. So we were like, wow, this is so great. And exactly the kind of thing that we were hoping to get involved with. So we've had, I think, 4 or 5 workshops now, working with local actors and Cameron. We even had a music director in from New York to help with orchestrations and things so that we could have sheet music, because Cameron wrote this all in his head and, recorded it. But in a musical, you want to be able to give the singers some sheet music to read from. And so we were able to get that put together. And we did 2 presentations this year of the show and have been able to raise some money to continue workshopping it. And so my husband, who's the artistic director and CEO of our organization, and myself are we geek out all the time because it's so good. This show is about, it's based on the 1977 NASA launch of 2 Voyagers, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, that were sent into the galaxy. And for a while they took a parallel track. And then at some point, one of them split off and went far, far away. And it sort of parallels with a human story about 2 musicians. And they're also called 1 and 2 in the story, and how, they met. And the dream of 1 was to become a famous recording artist and record a gold record and take it on tour, just like the rocket ships. They both had a gold record on them, and sort of with sounds from Earth. It's so incredible. It's an incredible story I knew nothing about until we met Cameron, but it's just such a wonderful story. And it was nice to be able to present it to some of our community this year, because it's, the first time you get some feedback. And we had some talkbacks afterwards where we asked them, did you understand the story? And what do you think? And so there was kind of a lot of different people saying, well, I loved it, or, I didn't get it, or, can we actually hear more about 2, the female character? We want to know more about her story, which really changed the course of how it was written, because a lot of people had that feedback. And so Cameron went back and wrote some new songs. He just drops. Yeah. He's like, oh, I wrote 3 songs this weekend. And sometimes you only use one of them, but he's just so brilliant. And it's been exciting to sort of see it develop. So our goal is to try to do the Tucson premiere, a full scale production in 2026. And then hopefully help him take it away and, maybe end up in New York or somewhere.
Wouldn't that be a fun legacy?
Yes. I mean, we want to do everything we can as an organization to support that. So it's just a privilege to have the opportunity to do so. And, we're grateful for the generosity of a lot of people in our community who are excited to see something like this grow out of this community from someone who lives right here in Tucson.
Sure.
So it's pretty cool.
That'd be fun for the community to come out and see it and to participate in it. I think that's the hard part. We miss so much of what goes on. My husband and I live in the far northwest part of Tucson, and so we don't always connect with what's going on downtown. And it's easy not to, because life is busy and you don't get downtown very often, or if you're trying to come down in the evening and then you have to get back up there. So I think this would be fun for a lot of people in Tucson to come participate in.
I think so too. Yeah, it's really relatable. It's a story everyone can relate to.
Sure.
So yeah, when the time comes, we'll try and spread the word far and wide so everybody knows about it.
Well, I'm thinking in the 70s, I can't think when Star Wars came out exactly, but that was one of the things we did in the college group, was we got to sing with the orchestra playing Star Wars, and that was pretty cool. And I think that was in the late 70s. So
super cool.
Yeah. So that, that's going to be interesting to a lot of baby boomers and a lot of people who were there at the time who can just remember it. So
absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
the
it's
Voyager
sort of,
as well, the NASA part of it and the Star Wars piece.
Yeah, totally. It's fun because it draws in people who are interested in outer space and things like that that wouldn't necessarily be excited about going to see a musical, but they're excited about the story that has to do with the Voyagers. And we actually had Cameron knows somebody who was involved with that space mission. So he came to one of our workshops, and it was so cool to hear from him because he had some comments about like, just what it was like, at the time in reality, back in the 70s of, having this Voyager be able to take a photograph of Earth, from bazillion miles away. I don't know exactly how many miles, but it was a lot. And like, there's a song called Pale Blue Dot because, there's this famous photograph, I guess, that was taken from one of the Voyager spacecraft. And like the Earth just looks like this tiny little blue dot in the distance. And, to hear from somebody who was involved with that mission was pretty cool too. Just, kind of drawing a whole different crowd of people that wouldn't probably typically not want to just go see a traditional Broadway musical. So.
Sure. I think I get my husband to this one easily. We had the opportunity to go through Houston and do the tour, and that's where all the Apollo missions, were that whole, Houston, we have a problem.
Yep.
And so that was interesting. The day we were there, the gentleman, Bill, who was in charge of that whole program, happened to be on the campus. And so when you take the behind-the-scenes tour, you get to go to that room that we all watched on television, at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night, and then all the splashdowns, and to meet that same thing, to meet that person who was there. And here's a funny thing when you talk about that picture, that at the time we were probably there in 2007. And what was strange about it to me was at the time your cell phone had, kilobytes of space. It was not megabytes, it wasn't gigabytes. And they were telling us that the entire NASA program ran on only like 500 kilobytes of space. Of computer capability. And they had a duplicate down in the basement. And it was so weird to think all of NASA ran on this little tiny bit of information. So
it's wild.
It really is wild. So that's ever since being there, learning all those things, that's something that's really interesting to us. So that would be fun to bring back.
We'll let you know.
You should see if you could get that guy Bill to come.
Yes, totally.
The one that they were talking, the one who had to solve the problem sitting at that desk.
For sure.
Well, and Logan, I know you have other things that you do. And when you were talking about your gallery, I thought it was interesting. And I know on your website it says, while the Groundworks Galaxy is youth-focused, artists of any age can submit works. And with each show, you prioritize different artists who are otherwise underrepresented, including BIPOC and LGBTQTLA. So what kinds of things do you have in the gallery, and how often does your art gallery, it's not music, but it's other kinds of art, and I think that was interesting.
Yeah, the visual art side of Groundworks is something that we're proud of, because our gallery is a pretty standard. There are 4 white walls in there, but we kind of expand it beyond just that room, in that the whole space is covered in different murals of bright colors kind of everywhere, and that's also ever changing. We kind of add more to it whenever we can. But yeah, to your point too of having lots of diversity and different artists, about 60 to 70% of all people who engage with Groundworks are in that youth range, 14 to 24. So that includes performers, artists, our volunteers, and even our administrative team is all in that kind of range, a majority. And then the other 30% is also performers, artists, volunteers, our administrative team. And that is the, adults as well, people over 25 who want to contribute or be a part of the space or engage with the space in some way. So our gallery reflects all of that and all those different backgrounds that you would see. Occasionally, sometimes we'll have solo artist shows, sometimes we'll have group shows, sometimes it'll be based on a specific group. We've had homeschooled youth who put together an art gallery for the space. We've had high school age youth putting together an art gallery for the space. We've also had adults doing installation pieces where the whole art gallery is now transformed into an entirely different world just by walking through the doors. And each one is as different as our musical offerings as well. So, I remember one was essentially it was a telephone just sitting in the middle of the gallery space that when you picked it up, the artist had it rigged up to a computer that randomly connected you with a different universe was the concept. So you would pick up the phone and you would be calling a different universe and you would hear whatever's going on in that universe. And so that's like one extreme of our gallery, of it being a very interactive space. Other times it is, a call to artists that we might have where the art is around a theme. So we do this event each year called Camp Groundworks. And so the art in the gallery most years is kind of summer camp themed. And we just leave that as an open-ended idea, whatever that means to an artist. And we get lots of different interpretations from a lot of youth artists or different people who've submitted. And then we display it for the event. And usually once a month, we have a different gallery show going on. And each one, really does represent the diversity of the community that we work with.
That's cool. Do you have gallery hours where someone like me can just come down and wander through?
Yeah, during our open hours on Fridays from 3:30 to 5:30, anybody can pop on in. And then anytime we have an event, any of other public events on our website, if somebody wants to come and check out the gallery, they are welcome to do that during any of the events on our website.
Very nice. And I know you'd said at first, 4 white walls, but I know you have a call out to muralists. So are the muralists going around town? Or are they doing it on your facility, at your facility?
Yeah, in our facility, we haven't quite expanded to doing other mural projects outside, though it's been a goal of ours for a while. But for now, we moved into a space that is essentially was an office space for a medical office at one point. And so every step that we've made in changing it is like we see, kind of a traditional office wall, and we're like, oh, well, let's get a whole different mural piece on this wall. One of the areas is we call it a sticker mural, because we kind of think of like how people might put stickers overlapping on a guitar case or a water bottle, but instead we've blown them up to the size of a wall where we have each sticker it's not literal stickers, it's the mural that an artist has created to make look like a sticker, and they are overlapping each other on a wall that we're doing to give that effect of like stickers on a wall.
Very cool.
And that way we can represent lots of different artists and have this really cool one cohesive piece when it's all done.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's been a cool process, especially when the artists get kind of creative with it in kind of going around a corner where the sticker might go if you tried to put it in a corner, or the sticker peeling up and things like that, like trying to create that effect with it. So it's been a fun process.
Sounds like fun. And that's a permanent installation then?
Yeah, it's part of our classroom, green room, open hours space that we have. And it's in progress right now. We're just keep adding to it until it's just completely full.
That's going to be very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're so fortunate in Tucson to have all these murals that are out in the community anyway. And I think it is part of the Tucson culture, the Tucson character. And so that's a neat way to bring it in.
Yeah, and what we've learned is that while we didn't specifically reach out to first-time muralists, we ended up getting a lot of them because the kind of just nature of our space, of being this open, welcoming space, we ended up having a lot of people being like, yeah, this is my first time doing anything like this. And we're like, great, awesome, do what you want on this wall, it's yours.
It's just an open, free canvas,
Exactly.
Isn't it? I moved here from Woodinville in Washington, which is outside Seattle, kind of literally in the woods. But we erected a graffiti wall, which was really unusual because we're far from downtown Seattle and in kind of a more conservative community, a lot of environmentalists. And out they put in a skate park and built like a cinder block wall and coated it. And it was amazing to see what kids would do. Every time you would drive by it, it was near one of the freeway entrances. It was always different. And, artists would be painting over it. Must have 1 million coats of paint on it. Seriously, you'd see it and it would be gorgeous. And you'd come back 2 days later and it was entirely different.
That's awesome.
So that was a fun thing.
Yeah, I love to hear things like that. And yeah, it just, even being in an area that you wouldn't expect it, I'm sure it's still got a lot of engagement from the community because it is, art is something that, people relate to, people want. People may not even know, those types of things exist unless you go out of your way to put them there.
Even on the drive down here, I drive down Oracle Road to get here, and up in Oro Valley, there's a new storage facility. And in Oro Valley, you have to spend 1% or 1.5% of your construction project on art, on public art. And so we have all kinds of interesting things. To your point, the storage unit made a gigantic image of a man carrying boxes, and he's bright yellow and all the boxes are bright green and bright red. So it's clearly an advertisement for storage unit, but he's standing out on the corner and the boxes are tipping and they're falling and there's some on the ground, and you don't even see it as an ad. It's just an interesting piece of art that applies. And like you said, it's kind of one of these surprising things when you drive by. It's like, what is that giant guy doing? So I think there's a lot of room for art in our community, and we're fortunate that in Oro Valley they've done that, included it. So I could see all these things you're doing all over the town here soon, all over the city. That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be the hope, is that it expands beyond us. The artists we work with now are, in 5-10 years and beyond, become the artists that are doing things in their community, whether it's still here in Tucson or they've moved around the country.
Definitely. And I think that, like you, Dena, this gentleman who's a composer, who's from here, how fun to launch out of Tucson.
Yeah,
Have a very
absolutely.
cool career. That
Agreed.
is fun. Now, you both take volunteers then, obviously.
Absolutely.
So
we do.
Dena, what are they doing? Are they doing behind the scenes stage work, or
There's a
sets,
lot of
props, sewing, costumes?
We kind of gear the opportunities towards the interest of the volunteers, because we do get a lot of people who call and they're like, oh, I've had a lot of experience in theater, especially like I just recently, a couple of days ago, had someone call and say, I have experience with makeup and wigs. Do you need any volunteers? And I was like, actually, we could really use some help with Wizard of Oz. So, she's going to come and help with helping with the kids backstage, because just, 29 children in a backstage environment with lots of props and set pieces everywhere, just kind of making sure everyone's safe and okay. But also like applying makeup and things like that as well. We have front of house, like I mentioned earlier, during performances for people who like that kind of thing and want to see a show. Sometimes we end up with volunteers who help as a teaching assistant during our educational programs, because we do work with a lot of kids with special needs. A lot of our programs are kind of split about half of the kids that have a diagnosis or disability of some kind. So we require a lot more extra hands on deck to kind of support them in their learning and performing. So sometimes we'll end up with volunteers that want to help with that kind of thing. And then someone who's like, I've got experience with lighting. I can run your spot op. I can, run the spotlights during the show. Lots of different things. So we kind of just try to gear it towards what people are interested in. So it's fun and they want to come back.
Sure. But it sounds like a lot of different opportunities.
Absolutely.
It sounds like a great place for retired teachers.
I agree.
It's like,
Come on down.
who can manage those all those kids in those environments.
Yes. So helpful.
And Logan, what kinds of things can volunteers do at Groundworks?
Yeah, we have a range of things. A lot of volunteers, get started by helping out with our box office area, or if they have sound experience or interested in learning some sound experience, we always need that technical side of helping run live sound at a show. The way we have it set up is that somebody is our head sound, but we're always looking for like a sound shadow to help out with things that anybody can do. But outside of our events, we need help staffing the space, like during open hours or other activities that we have going on. If there's a rehearsal or a meeting or any type of use of the space, we need always staff to be there, kind of just to hang out up front while something's going on. And then on top of that, we can use some behind the scenes help too. We are always looking for help in areas like marketing, even help with the art gallery, every aspect of the space. I don't think we are fully set on. I think everything still has some room to grow, and getting volunteers to help with that growth is key. But we especially like to work with, 14 to 24-year-olds. So we really want them to be the ones volunteering at the space, because then they are the ones who are actually keeping the space active in that world, which is our mission. So having youth come to help out with the space. So but really it's an all ages thing. So if somebody is not in that age range, we still are welcoming all volunteers. But if you know people in that age range, that is exactly who we want kind of working in the space.
That is a great thing, because at Impact, we have a certain age limits where our liability insurance will cover some people. And so it's hard, I think, for some youth to find a place to volunteer if they want to do it for community service in general, for whether it's a requirement or it's what they are passionate about doing. But then to be able to do it in a space where you have a lot of other youth, I bet there are a lot of people that don't even know that's available. So hopefully this will get out there. And
yeah, exactly. We love to have, the high school volunteer club, honor society. They need an internship. They need something, community service hours, any type of credit. That way, we love to have those kids come in and get it here, because often they will stick around because they end up really loving what we're doing.
Sure, I could see why they would. And it's so social.
Exactly.
Right up their alley, right? Mm-hmm. Well, maybe you can tell me, because you both won some money at the 100 Plus Women event, and $8,900 is for a newer nonprofit especially. That's a significant amount of money when you're working on volunteers and working to fundraise. So Dena, how did you invest your $8,900? Or maybe you haven't just yet and you have it going to something.
Well, we, like I mentioned with the support staff, that's a big thing that we need help with, and that we have been really grateful for that surprise amount of money that we went home with that evening, helping with, the kids that need a little bit of extra attention, hiring staff that have experience working with kids with special needs. We're also adding 2 additional programs to our educational academy this fall and into the spring as well. So it's kind of new programming that we haven't really budgeted for yet. So having that kind of surprise donation has really helped with getting those things launched, including a program in partnership with the University of Arizona School of Dance, with some of their students teaching our students about dance in their wonderful facilities, as well as a partnership with the Arizona Schools for the Deaf and Blind, nice. Doing a production with them, working with some of their blind students. So really a lot of staffing, and also with our educational programming moving into the new year.
You can tell it takes a lot of people to put any of that on, even just one of those things.
Mm-hmm. It sure does.
Sure. Logan, how about you? What have you guys done with your money, your gift?
Yeah, for us, we spent a fair amount just kind of it into our recording studio. So that was a project that, when we ask youth what they want to see with the space, recording studio kept coming up. It's something we wanted to do, but it does take quite an investment up front to kind of get the equipment, especially if we want it to be something that is, a different type of access than a youth might have just on their computer at home. So having different types of equipment with that, whether it be the instruments they can use in the studio or the microphones, and each one of those often has a hefty price tag. So we do have a bit that we put into that in addition to just some of our other, general expenses as we were filling out our end of the year fundraising efforts. So it really helped towards that end of it. But the recording studio, since then, it came at the perfect time, because we've been able to kind of soft launch it with our volunteers, our young people, to record their own projects, record other bands' projects that have been performing at the space. And we now have some really cool music that we've been able to say that we helped facilitate the creation of through that funds. And additionally, just the youth themselves, like running it, recording a project, even some of the really simple things that we don't even think about, just like scheduling out time to record and making sure that, set up and tear down time is part of that. That's all the learning process that the youth are getting through this. And it's been an awesome thing to watch.
That's a neat way to do it, to invest in some capital that way into the equipment.
Yeah, and the great thing about the recording studio is the equipment doesn't go bad. It's good equipment you can use if you maintain it well for decades to come.
It doesn't end up like all other technology and suddenly it's obsolete.
Yeah, when you're talking about, microphones, getting decent microphones, getting decent outboard gear, it really is something that will last.
That's good to know because it seems like technology is turning over all the time. My brother is a musician. Musician.
Yeah.
I have magician on my brain because we had a magician out at Impact this last month. But he just came about it naturally. He's just one of those natural musical people. He can pick up any instrument and play it. It's just odd. I mean, it's really he's just so gifted. And he put a recording studio in his basement. And it's the neatest thing. So, he was recording on CDs. So when you're recording in your studio, are you recording just digitally? I mean, do they transfer it to anything they can? It's all different now, that's.
Yeah, we have a kind of a foundational digital setup where we're recording through a digital interface into a computer, but we run it through some analog gear, and we have that option, and that's the other side of it too. As we're setting it up, it's still in its fledgling state, but we want it to feel more tactile than what you would maybe just see on a computer screen, especially for those learning it for the first time, to really get a sense of like what a knob does when you turn it, as opposed to just when you click a button on the screen.
That is cool because I think that is important, and it's I don't know. I think we still have albums, we still have CDs. My husband said I still have 2 8-track tapes left in a box somewhere, and he can tell you to this day exactly what songs are on them. It's just part of musical history and part of life, and I think that's fun that they get to see a little bit of everything because today so much is digital. So it's nice to see the variety and, like you say, turning a knob.
Right.
Even in my car, I have to find the button, a touch button. It's just on a screen. And sometimes I think, this is distracted driving. Trying to figure that out. I just need a knob I can just spin over. So, well, it sounds like a lot of fun. And like kids are doing all kinds of things in both places. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap it up? Anything you wish the public to know?
Yeah, I just like to kind of welcome people to the space. Sometimes when we're talking about it, it's kind of this idea that exists in somebody's mind when you're explaining it to them. But when you see it in person, I think it clicks a lot more of what we're doing. And you can just see like the vibrancy of it through the vibrant colors on the wall and that kind of thing at the space. So I definitely welcome people to come check it out in person and or even set up an appointment with me through the website.
That would be great. I think even your website's colorful and engaging. So if you can get people to the website, I think you'll easily get some tours. And we'll be down to the gallery and some shows too, for sure. Dena, how about you?
I guess I'd just like to share how, like mentioning it before, a theater class or an opportunity to perform in a show or get involved with the performing arts, how impactful it can be on a young person and anyone who might have a child who's interested in getting involved or interested in seeing a show, that I would encourage them to reach out or visit our website or give me a call as well to get some more information, because it's the opportunities that we really want to provide, and it's our mission to try to reach as many people as possible without the financial barrier. For the theater classes, all of our classes are free, and also seeing the shows. If it's something that is just out of reach financially, reach out to me. We want to be able to offer opportunities for people to see a show. Seeing a show changed my entire life when I was a kid. Because my parents were able to get us a ticket to see a show. And we want to be able to offer that to as many people as we can. So if there's any interest in getting involved, please reach out, find out more. We'd just love to have, more children getting involved in the classes or more audience members coming to see the shows, just to get so much, there's just so much in that theater can do. It sort of sparks empathy. It sparks, just kind of understanding other perspectives and things. And we just want to get as many people involved as we can. So reach out.
Sounds good. And I think if you're putting on 3 or 4 productions a year, people can know that it's not a huge time commitment. It's like you get in,
Absolutely.
Sounds like it's fast and you get through it quickly. And
and it's not
then you
for
come back and want to be on the next one.
Yeah, that's what we hope. It's not for everybody, but a lot of people do kind of get bit by the bug and want to come back for more. So
sure, but it sounds very doable, in busy lives. It's
Absolutely,
still possible, all those. And then we'll get into some of these first for shows and some of these other fun things that are going on around the community. Well, thank you both for coming and joining us today and for all you do to bring arts alive and to showcase all this fun Tucson talent.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you both.
Thanks, Barbara.
You're welcome.